Hi everyone. In this video we are going to look at our references and we'll try to extract the information that we need to make the blocking of our animation. And as we are getting ready to make the blocking of our animation, we also need to understand the base body mechanics. We need to understand how we walk on our planet, and we have to apply the same rules that we apply on ourselves. So we'll try to understand how we walk, and then we will try to translate that information into Rhino, and we'll try to see how Rhino will walk in the similar way. We'll try to apply all the same rules that we apply on human walk, and we will be trying to understand how this Rhino is walking, and we'll try to explore all three cycles references that we have this sprint cycle. So we have this sprint cycle reference here, and we also have this trot cycle. So we will try to apply the same rules that we'll understand on this trot cycle as well. And like we will start from our walk cycle reference. So before we start observing this Rhino, before we extract any pose information from this Rhino, I want to spend just a few minutes on understanding how human walk, mainly not just how human walk, how we what's the main mechanics behind our walk. um, so yeah, before we do anything, let's look at this guy walking, and let's try to observe together that what's the first thing that's happening when this guy start walking. So you can see this guy is just standing straight in the beginning. Like you can see, like this guy is standing straight on planet Earth. I'm just going to draw planet Earth down here. So the gravity is pulling him down. So that's the main thing happening right now. And this guy is just standing straight. So now if I hit play button, I want you guys to observe what's the first thing that you see this guy doing, when he start moving forward. So I want you guys to see what's the first thing that he does as soon as he start moving. So I'm just going to hit the play button. So what's the first thing that he does? What's the first thing that you see as soon as you see this guy moving forward? So I do have some drawings, from my research and like on this. So the first thing that this guy does is he start to lean forward. So you can see like the first thing. So many of you guys might say that, he's picking up his leg first. That's the first thing that he does. So, many of you guys might say that he's shifting the weight in this direction. Yeah, he is doing that. But the first thing that you see right from the frame one is this guy was leaning forward. So as this guy is leaning forward, he is putting himself off the gravity. So now if I go on frame 39 or frame 40, now you can see I'm going to draw the planet Earth down here again. So you can see he's still standing on planet Earth, but now he's going off the gravity. Now these 2 feet that were holding him, that were not letting him fall, so now he's putting his weight off the gravity, and now the gravity will be able to pull him down. So now if we keep going forward, imagine if he only have one leg and he's leaning forward, he will either fall down because the gravity will be pulling, or he have to use his one leg to keep jumping. I mean, if you only have one leg. So luckily he have 2 legs, and because of that, as he's falling down, as soon as he lean forward, the gravity is trying to pull this guy down. He's moving forward as well as he's moving down as well. So he end up having a motion like this, a curvy motion, because he's trying to lean forward and his leg is trying to lean and he's going down. So as you can see, like he's going from a standing to a little bit of a curvy motion. You can see like how I drew here. So he's going somehow like this, and then he bring one of his leg forward and he makes a contact with the ground. So that's kind of, if you understand what I just mentioned, then you understand the body mechanics. So now he put his body on off the balance. He put, like, gravity is pulling his body, he's having a curve, and then he bring one of his leg forward and he makes contact with the ground. And as soon as he makes contact, so now that defines that how we walk. We let our body, we use the gravity, we move forward, we let our body fall with the gravity, and then we generate momentum using that motion. So when we let our body off the gravity, the gravity is trying to pull us down, and because of that we have this curvy motion that we mentioned, and then we use this motion that we generate in our body to move ourselves. For sure, the way we generate motion in our body with the walk is different, the way we generate motion in our body with the trot is different, and the way we generate motion in our body with the sprint is completely different. I'm talking about rhino right now. So the way this rhino or any four-legged creature, the way they use their body in these three different kind of runs, walk and trot is completely different. So we are gonna look at that. But right now, so far, we can see that we lean forward and we generate a momentum because of that, because the gravity is trying to pull us down. So now we bring one of our leg forward and we make contact with the ground. So now let's try to understand what happened with the body as soon as we make contact. So first thing, we will try to understand what happened with the body after we make contact, but let's try to understand what was happening with the body before we make contact. So so here we can see we already made contact here. So one thing we can say that is when we make contact, we were already moving forward. So you see, because we lean forward, we were already generating motion in that direction. So because of that, we were already having a motion. We were already having a forward momentum when we make contact, and our body was also moving down when we made contact. As I mentioned, when we lean forward, our body tried to go in somehow like this. So we had two different kind of motions in our body. One is we were moving forward, and one is we were moving downward. So in the contact pose, we have two different kind of motions in the body we are having. And also right now we are just making our first contact here, but if we go ahead and if we try to see our next contact, which is on frame 151, so here we can see we are making another contact. So the first thing is the body is moving forward, the body is going down on the contact pose, and the third thing I can say is the body is moving from this leg to this leg. The body is moving in this direction because now as we are making contact, we are trying to shift our weight from one leg to another leg. So now we can see we already have three different things happening. We know that the body is moving from in this direction. So now just by observing these three things, now we already know that what was happening to this rhino in this up and down, in side to side, and for sure we can say that the rhino was the character was moving forward. But because we are making a treadmill cycle, we will be using a little bit different mental technique for this. So yeah, now that's the first thing I can say about the contact. The body is moving down, and there are many other things that are getting involved in the hips. So we are going to discuss that as well. So now as I was talking about this guy, so now we just looked at this contact pose. So the first thing we do is we lean forward, and then we make contact. And I mentioned what different kind of motions are happening in our body when we are making contact. So now let's see what happens after we make contact. On this contact pose, let's try to, before we understand what happens after we make contact, let's try to see what's happening on the frame, on the contact frame. The first thing I can see is the one of the leg is making contact. So we can see here the left leg of this character is making contact here. So that means if the left leg is just making contact, we have to say that left leg is just making contact, because here the left leg does not have any weight. All the weight this this guy have is carried by the back leg till the contact pose, because on the contact pose, one leg just made the contact, so that means this leg does not have any weight because it just made the contact. All the leg is being carried by the back leg. So because of that, the body will be tilted like this, because this leg is carrying all the weight. So on this contact pose, the side to side roll of the body will be somehow like this, because the foot that's making contact, that foot does not have any weight. It's not carrying any weight. The back leg is carrying weight. And another thing on the contact pose is the distance between both of the legs is maximum, because one leg is going forward making contact, one leg is still staying back, and then the distance between both of these legs are maximum. So that means the body will be rotated somehow. If let's say this is the body, but the body is a box, so I'm just going to quickly draw a box here. So the body will be somehow like this. So the body will be rotating like this to to support both of the legs. So these are the two main rotation that's happening. So we have another rotation also, like which is this X rotation, which is even more tricky. And the X rotation we will discuss only when we are animating, because there are way more advanced things that happen with X, and we will dig more deeper into X. Right now it won't be possible to explain quickly. So so right now, as we understood what are the main things happening on the contact pose, so now we understood what changes we have to make on this body controller on the contact pose. We understood whether we have to rotate the controller like this, or whether we have to rotate like this, or whether the body will be moving down or up. So we have now a general idea of what kind of pose the contact pose is. So now, as we understood this, when we are animating, we'll keep digging more. When we are making the blocking, we will have even more understanding. But what I'm trying to share here is the first thing. I want to share the mechanics that are going on underneath. So we are trying to extract the base mechanics so that we can make a decent blocking, 4 to 5 or 4 to 8 poses I want to make, which are going to act as base for our cycle. So now we have the contact. After contact, the next thing we have is the down pose, because as I mentioned, the body was already moving down and the body is moving forward. So the next thing that happens is, once this foot is completely on the ground. So when this foot is completely on the ground, the next thing we move to is the down pose, because down pose means the body is maximum down. So now, because the body was already moving down, so this leg which just made contact is going to carry all the weight, all the body's weight is going to bend a little bit, and our body will be on the down pose here. So now, the next thing happen is a down pose. There are many characteristics of the down pose. The main thing is the body is on its lowest position. And the second thing is the back leg is getting ready to move forward, the back leg is getting ready to leave the ground as well. And the back leg is also going to use after the down pose, we are going to use the back leg to move ourselves up again, because we are going to use these fingers. So you can see this is a down pose. We are going to use our fingers, we are going to curl our fingers, and we're going to push ourselves forward and up. So literally we are going to push ourselves in this direction. So in the down pose, the first thing is now the weight is on this leg, so our hip might go like this, so this side is carrying the weight. And we are going to discuss more things as we as we are making the pose. So so we are just standing forward, we lean forward, the gravity is pulling us down, we bring one of our leg forward, we make contact, and then we move to the down pose after that. And after down pose, we move to the passing pose, where our one of our leg is ready to swing forward. So there are 4 main poses. The first one is the contact, which we already discussed. Then we are on the down pose. The second main pose is the passing pose, because in passing pose, one of our leg is ready to swing forward and makes contact. And this there are 2 main characters of the passing pose. The first one is our leg is getting ready to swing forward, and the second one is our weight is maximum on side to side. So on this passing pose here on frame 175, when this leg is getting ready to swing forward, you will also see that our character is having the maximum weight shift from the front side. Now this is the maximum. So as soon as you found a maximum weight shift point, so around frame 175, 176, that's the maximum weight shift that this guy is doing, going in this direction. So that means that's the main thing about passing pose. On passing pose, we have the maximum side to side weight shift, and then the leg is getting ready to swing forward. And then we have a up pose. As this leg is swinging forward, our body will go up slightly. we are going to give the maximum space that we can give to for this leg to swing forward. So that's the main thing I can say about up pose. There are many other things involved in up pose, like how this body will be shaped, how the Y rotation, and also there are many other things involved that we are going to discuss as we are making the you know the pose. But for now, we need to have a base information, we need to have a base understanding. But for that, so now we have the contact, down here, and then pass, and then up pose. So we know the main feature of up pose, we move our body up so that we can swing our leg forward. And after up pose, because why it is up pose, because the body is maximum up, the body will start going down again, and then we will have the contact pose of other foot, which we have here. So these are the four main poses. They repeat 2 times because first we make contact with the first leg, and then we make the right leg, and then we make contact with the left leg, or vice versa. So we have a total of 8 poses. The first and last is same, so we can say the total of 9 poses in the walk cycle. And we can see that here as well. So this is from Richard Williams Animator Survival Kit. We have the contact, then we have a down, then we have a up. We have a pass, then we up. So contact, down, pass, up, contact, down, pass, up. So we have to remember that when we are making a walk cycle. So these are the main poses that we make when we are making a walk cycle. Again, we are this is just for the base. We need to have some motion going on in the rig so that we can build our details on that. So that's the so this is the flow that we'll have on the contact, down, pass, up. So now that's what we are going to use for our walk cycle. So now let's move on to the trot, and we'll try to see what happens in the trot. Now we have a base understanding on what's happening in the walk cycle, and we can quickly see that contact, down, pass up here as well. So I designed my reference in a way so that we have all the main poses nicely. So on frame 1 we have the contact pose, the first pose where the front foot is making contact and the back foot is staying on the ground. So all the features that I mentioned, we are going to start with that. So we have a contact pose on frame 1. And we have a contact pose on frame 21 as well, which is right in the middle. So you can see this foot is making contact, and then we have everything repeating again on frame 21. So we have contact, we have like a down pose somewhere here. So we have down pose. I think this is the down pose, so this is supposed to be D. It looks like a P. So we have contact, down, and then we have a I don't know why I write U. When I was animating, I must have wrote. So we have contact, down, and then this leg is getting ready to pass. So we have so I think this C is for the back body. So all these U and all these, you are saying the up thing is these ones were for the back body. So right now we have the contact here for the front body, and then we have down around frame 5. And then we have a passing pose around frame 10 or 11 when this leg is getting ready to swing forward. And if you see from the front angle, the side to side weight shift is maximum on around frame 11. And then we have up pose, so you can see the body is still going up, and then this leg is passing forward and on frame 17, and then we have another contact, and then our body will repeat the same thing. So that's the base mechanics that's going on in our Rhino as well in the walk. Yeah, so that's the base understanding that we are going to use to make our walk cycle. Now, as we are understanding the mechanics, I don't want, I want to make this understanding available in all 3 tutorials, because we start from the walk cycle, we understand how we walk. Now we're going to translate the same information in the trot. So now here we have the trot cycle. So the funny thing is the trot is very similar to walk. Now to understand this trot cycle even more, to understand what's happening in this trot cycle, you have to understand the walk cycle in a little bit deeper way. And I can say, like, the knowledge that we get from the walk cycle is the building block for this trot cycle. So let's try to understand this Rhino quickly again. Like, I want to point a few things. So in the walk cycle, you can see, like, we have the walk cycle here is starting from the contact pose. So we can see this front leg making contact here. And then as the front leg is making contact, you can see, like, the back leg is still staying on the ground after this leg makes contact. So, you see, like, the front leg makes contact, the body is moving down after that, After body moved down, now the the back leg is helping the body to move up again, and as well as the back leg is rotating. So the back leg roll and left the ground around frame 8 or 9. So you can see like we had 9 frames of 9 to 10 frames where both of the front legs were on the ground together. But that's not the same case with trot. In trot, it is like a walk, but it's more like a jump. So you see, as soon as the front leg makes contact, the back leg leaves the ground. So it's more like a jumping rope. So you are running like this is more like how we run actually. So now you can see like we have a contact happening on with the it's not actually contact is on mainly on frame 2. Before I talk anything, so we have just 4 main poses for this trot. We have the first main pose, which is the up pose, where the both front and back body are on the up position. So we have a up pose for the both front and back body, and the front foot is about to make contact, and the same thing with the back body as well. The one of the foot is about to make contact. So both front and back body have a foot that is about to make contact with the ground. So that's what we can see here. So now we can see like after frame 1, the body is going down till frame 5, and that's where we reach to our second pose on frame 5, which is our down pose. So we have a up pose on frame 1, then we have a down pose on frame 5, and then body moves up again. And so on frame 9 we have a up pose again, and then the body moving down again, like so we have a down pose on frame 13, and we have a up pose again on frame 17. So we have a up, down, and up. So we have these 5 different poses that we will be making, and the mechanics that we are trying to use is very similar to walk. The only thing is like it's like a jump. So the first here, if we try to observe the front body here, so we can see the left leg just made contact on frame 1. Actually, this is not the contact pose, this is the up pose, but I'm gonna say it. So the left leg makes contact with the ground on frame 1, and it's moving back, and it moves back, and it tried to push the rhino back up again. So it pushed the rhino back up, so rhino take a quick jump, and then the right leg makes contact with the ground, and then the right leg will do the same thing. First the rhino will go down, and then this leg will use the force and try to make this rhino jump again. And then when the rhino goes up and jumps, so the back leg leaves the ground and the front leg again touches the ground. So that's the main mechanics going on. So that's the moving on to the walk cycle. So that's the main understanding there that we are going to use in walk cycle. Both of the legs, they kind of try to stay on the ground, but in trot it's more like a jump, like it's have a very similar kind of mechanics on the body, the rotation and everything, but it's way quicker. It's like it's like a jump, and it's like a very fast walk. Yeah, so that's the main understanding that we are going to use for this trot cycle. We will be having 4 poses: up, down, and both front and back body are doing the same things. Yeah, so that's the main understanding that we are going to use for this trot, and that's the main information we extracted, and hopefully things are getting clear. Even if you have I'm sure like you must be having 100 different questions about this reference, and I can assure that we are gonna, when we are making this cycle, we will explore all those things. But for now, we need to extract this main information, and that's what we are trying to do right now. Now moving on to our last cycle, and we will try to extract information that we need for the blocking from our sprint cycle, which is here. So we have our sprint cycle where this rhino is sprinting. So you can see the sprint cycle is way different than the walk and trot, and the rhino is doing the sprint. So now I want to say that the like this sprint, I want to say that the action that's happening in this sprint is way different from trot, and is way different from the walk. Actually, in the sprint, this rhino is trying to use his entire body to run as fast as possible. So rhino is having a wave in his body, rhino is having a squash and stretch in his body, and now we need to have a completely different understanding to understand like how rhino is using his body for this sprint. So I'm gonna start from this by looking at this this picture. So here we can see like these are the main poses for the horse sprint cycle. So the main 4 poses that are that we are going to make in this sprint cycle are these 4 poses up here. So I'm looking at how this horse use his body to do this squash and stretch. So we can see like we have a stretch pose here. The horse is fully stretching itself here on, and then we have a squash pose. So we have a squash pose here, and like, you know, where the horse is kind of squeezing itself. And then we have a pose where back legs are on the ground, and then we have a pose where the front legs on the ground. So that's the understanding that we are going to use, you know, for our sprint cycle. So now let me go back to our reference again. So now we can see on frame 1, the rhino is stretching itself to the maximum. So now you can see like, you know, the front legs are kind of stretching forward, the back legs are stretching back, and that the same thing we can see. And on the middle, like on frame 7, you can see like we have a squash pose, like somewhere around frame 7 or 8. The rhino is trying to bring his legs closer to each other and trying to squeeze as much as he can. And then on frame 14 again, we have this stretch and squash. So the main thing that's happening in this sprint is, you know, the rhino is trying to stretch and squash. And by doing that, he's using his entire body to run. And like, you know, now when this rhino is going from stretching to squashing, you know, so now we have to ask ourselves that how is this rhino using stretch and squash to sprint himself, and how is this working? So now let me quickly show you that. So now you will see that from frame 1 to frame 9 or frames like frame 7 or 8, we can see that rhino is going from the stretch position to the squash position. And as he's doing that, you will see 2 things happening in the body. The first thing is the back body is just jumping up. So that's the only thing happening in the body. So the back body is just jumping up, and like, you know, after the squash, the back body will touch on the ground again. So we can see like, you know, from frame 1 to 8, the back body was just jumping. The main thing that was happening in the body was in the front body, because from stretch to squash, the front body is, you know, doing all the work. So you can see like, you know, from frame 1 to frame 7, you can see the front body is using both of the front legs to push himself forward. So you see like from frame 1 to frame 7, the front legs here, even here we can see the rhino is using front legs to push himself forward. And after the squash, from frame 7 to frame 14, the rhino is using his back legs to do the same thing. And now you can see from frame 7, the front legs are just jumping again, is doing the same thing which back legs was doing here. So in the beginning, the back legs were jumping, and after the squash, the front legs will jump, the front body will jump, and the back body will be landing on the ground, and back body will be pushing the rhino even faster. So like, you know, now to wrap up my understanding of the sprint, we can see that this rhino is squashing and stretching. And when from stretching to squash, the rhino is using the front leg to push itself, and you know, and from squash to stretch, rhino is using the back leg to push itself. Yeah. So this was just the base understanding, like, you know, of of how this rhino walk, how this rhino trot, and how this rhino sprint. And now we're going to use this entire information. Like, you know, we have way more things to discover. We have way more, you know, details that we have to understand in this. And we have, a lot of, things that we have to explore. So now we have, enough information that we need for us to make the blocking. So now we are going to use our Rhino rig to make this blocking in the next video, whether it's for run, whether it's for walk, or whether it's for sprint. So now, before I do this thing again in the sprint, we have up and down poses of the front and back body on different frames. They are not same like this trot. The trot is completely different kind of behavior, the walk is completely different kind of thing, and the sprint is also completely different kind of things. We're gonna explore all of these separately. Like, we are gonna dig as deep as possible, and we will try to make the cycle that you already saw. So yeah, thank you so much everyone, and I hope everything was clear. So now we are gonna dive even more deeper in this Rhino. I'll see you guys in the next video.